Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board. If you could please take a moment to silence any of your noise-making devices, and please rise, salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll start with some board introductions to let you know who these people are up here. Right to my right is Laney Stralick. All the way down to my left is Aaron Mackey. Our board members on Zoom tonight are Douglas Mole and William Kiernan. From the township, we have in person Township Manager Matt Takita. On Zoom is his right-hand man, Ed Neubauer, and Diane Barry, his right-hand woman. And our court reporter is Karen Wright-Browndorf. Thank you. I'm your chairperson, Dan Miles. We have a little business to clear up before we get started. We received a letter this afternoon from Michael J. McGinnis from Begley, Cardinal, and Mandito, basically asking this board to consider a continuance till next month's meeting, which is, pardon me, should have had that ready. January 10th. Oh, yes, Mr. McGinnis,
Hi,
if you'd like
to. Good evening.
Make it a little easier for me.
Yes.
Thank you. I like easy.
So, as the board's aware, and if there are any members of the public here or aware, this matter's been listed and continued on a couple of occasions. It's been previously, the initial continuance had to do with a medical situation I was going through, and then it was continued so that we could procure additional traffic data for the application to provide to the board and to the residents. That information had been provided, and then there was a desire to change, nothing to do with the site plan, but the mechanism of ownership with the application. So what was submitted, as the board may be aware, was a request for a variance to permit 41 one-bedroom apartment units. That would be amended under this request to 41 one-bedroom condominiums. However, because this was advertised at our request for apartments, and because the technical use and mechanism of ownership was changing, it seemed prudent to either continue, or if it's the board's pleasure, withdraw the application and resubmit it. Certainly in either event, have it re-advertised. So I did want to state for anyone in the audience, the plan that you've seen, if you've seen it, is identical, but it would go from apartments to condominiums. I did reach out to a couple individuals who we've been trying to keep in the loop from the association at St. Joseph's to let them know as soon as we were aware of this, and apologize for the late notice. And again, I appreciate the board's indulgence, and whatever the board's pleasure is in terms of either withdrawal and resubmission or continuance, we would be happy to do either.
Great, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Yes, we received that notice. Thought it was just of the best measure to
I agree.
to continue it. I don't know that it needs to be re-advertised since nothing's really changing except the wording and the mechanism of ownership. We just felt it prudent because it didn't want to look like we were pulling a fast one by changing some wording. And the people have been
people interested in this
very interested in this,
yes.
And yeah, just to be on the board, we think it's probably great. So I think I will be asking my board for a motion to continue this matter to the January 10th, 2023 meeting. Would someone like to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Wait, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Oak Village continued till the January 10th, 2023 meeting.
And I will make the overture. Anyone here with this application, please, I will hand out cards and contact my office with any questions or concerns. I'll be happy to discuss that.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we just mark the letter from Mr. McGinnis dated December 13th, 2022 as ZHB1? We'll make it part of the
Yes.
record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, noted. Okay, moving on. Petition number 1 on our agenda, Don Graber, 284 Willow Drive, requesting a dimensional variance to construct a porch which encroaches into the minimum distance of 10 foot from a pool. Mr. Graber, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Okay, first I'm going to have you sworn in by our court reporter.
Sure.
My name's Donald Matthew Graber.
All right, Mr. Graver, now we're going to mark some exhibits for your petition, and we'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with accompanying statement from the applicant. 2 will be a permit denial letter from Falls Township sent to applicant. That letter is dated November 16, 2022. 3 will be a conceptual sketch submitted by the applicant. 4, an impervious calculation sheet. 5 will be 4 pages containing 4 color photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 6 will be the neighbor and applicant notification letters giving notice of tonight's meeting, December 13th, 2022 at 7 p.m. 7 will be proof of publication, the Bucks County Courier-Times, showing this matter was published November 29, 2022, and then again December 6, 2022. That is all the board exhibits. I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied, and this matter can proceed.
Great, thank you, Mr. Billymeyer. Mr. Graver, what's
Yes.
going on?
Just trying to get a little forgiveness to build a porch in my backyard. So I'm a little too close to the pool, and about 3.5 feet. So I know the requirement is 10, so
Yeah.
just the one corner the way it comes in. That's pretty much it.
All right, I'm going to see if the board has any questions for you. Douglas.
I have none at this time, Dan.
Bill?
None.
Laney? Aaron?
So just a quick question. It looks like right now, when I first looked at the picture, I thought it was like tiled over, but it looks like it's just sand at the moment, or just in the picture where you're gonna make the porch, what is it now?
There's pavers there.
There's pavers there,
Yeah,
so
it's a patio now.
So it's already-
It's an open patio.
it's already a patio?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So a patio is obviously fine going up to the pool and.
Correct.
Right, got it.
Yes.
And just a quick question for Matt, the 10-foot, the 10-foot requirement is for what? I mean, why is it even there? Requires 10 feet for the purpose of safety, for the purpose of?
Yeah, basically it's for safety.
Okay, for safety, okay. So just my question is then, do you have any safety concerns? For
I do not.
you and your home
No.
about 6.5 feet versus 10 feet? Okay, great.
No, I do
No
not.
question.
It's only the one corner the way it comes in,
And
so
it's
the
one
rest of
part,
it, yeah. So-
It's not like there's gonna be a diving board from the porch into the.
No, my insurance doesn't allow a diving board.
Well, getting a little too old to jump off roofs, too. I don't have any questions. Any public comments, questions for Mr. Graver, 287, 284 Willow Drive? No? Anything Matt received from the township, correspondence or questions?
Nothing from the township.
Anything on Zoom? No one entered into the chat? Okay, great. That guy might be muted, okay. Oh, thank you. Great. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will.
I'll make a motion.
I got it. I move that the application of Don Graver requesting a dimensional variance from section 209-46.e of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to construct a porch which encroaches into the minimum distance of 10 feet from a pool at the property located at 284 Willow Drive, Levittown, PA 19054, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Great. Douglas, poll the board, please.
Sure. Laney,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Dan?
Yes. So petition passed, you'll get a letter from our solicitor's office.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
and
thank you.
Especially thank you for seeing me first.
Oh. I insisted. All right, moving right along. Petition number 3 on the agenda, Britton Realty of Morrisville LLC, 835 West Bridge Street, Morrisville, PA, requesting variances to construct a warehouse addition, permit a warehouse use outside storage unit in highway commercial district, to not require parking areas, paved with a dust-free all-weather surface, and to permit 50 parking spaces in the required 57. Oh, Mr. McGinnis, you're back.
Good evening.
Good evening. Would you like to have some of your witnesses sworn in?
I would, at the outset, and then I'll hand up the certificate of service and an aerial picture I'd like to distribute, please.
Excellent. They also need to state and spell their names for the record after they're done.
I do. Daniel Carr, and Vice President General Manager of Britton Industries. CARR.
Keith Dumack, President and owner of Dumack Engineering. DUMACK.
Thank you, gentlemen. And then we'll get Keith to do his thing when you're done.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, if we can mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying variance list. 2 will be a letter sent by Mr. McGinnis. That letter is dated November 18, 2022. Exhibit 3 will be 4 pages containing four colored photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 4 is a letter from Falls Township giving notice of tonight's meeting. That letter is dated December 1st, 2022. 5 will be plans for this, for the application. 6 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times showing this matter was published November 29th, and then again December 6th, 2022. That is all the board exhibits. Mr. McGinnis, you have handed me certification of service. Do you have pre-marked exhibits?
I do not have a pre-marked exhibit. The only additional exhibit I'd like to offer is the aerial photograph that I've distributed to the board.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll mark your certification of service as A1, and the list of properties that are listed on the back page, they received a copy of the notice of this letter dated November 29th, signed by you?
That is correct.
All right, and I'll mark the aerial view as A2. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice have been satisfied, and this matter can proceed.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Bindlingmeyer. Mr. McGinnis, all you.
Good evening, Mike McGinnis here on behalf of Britton Industries. The only other housekeeping item at the outset, Mr. Bindlingmeyer, I don't know if that was included in the list, was this was originally scheduled, and the plan hasn't changed with the application, listing primarily a use variance to permit the warehousing that's proposed on the site plan. This was continued in part from the last meeting because of a exterior storage component to this site, which we'll be covering this evening. So I do want to, again, make that clear at the outset, and we'll provide additional details in that regard as part of the application.
Yes,
Testimony.
the application for zoning ordinance appeal is marked as amended, and that's going to be ZHB1.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Very good. So as I stated, good evening. I am here on behalf of Britton Industries. I have Dan Carr with me from Britton. I have Heath Dumack from Dumack Engineering. Britton is the equitable owner of 835 West Bridge Street. So if you look at A2, the aerial that's been distributed, it's the property with the marcation point. The property is zoned highway commercial, and as you can see in the aerial, it backs onto Route 1, and it is adjacent to the Remedy Wellness location and the water tower. It's a large lot. It is a little over 5.3 acres approximately. Britton is looking to buy the property and then create a separate lease area for the Elks Lodge. The Elks are the current owners and operators of this property, and if the board is not familiar, the Elks Lodge unfortunately has fallen on some rather hard times financially, and this opportunity, as you'll hear from Mr. Carr, presented itself hopefully to be viewed as a win-win. And what I mean by that is the board is probably familiar with the other parcels that Britton owns and operates in the township, which are in close proximity to this location. Britton devised an arrangement with the Elks Lodge whereby they would purchase the site and then lease back the, as he's pointing out, a portion of the existing property for the Elks to remain, essentially in perpetuity for $1. Britton would then take the back 5,400 square feet and would utilize it as a warehouse space in a manner that we'll cover momentarily. And then there would be and this was the reason for the continuance, a privacy fence that would be installed. Oh, there's an echo here, I apologize. A privacy fence, so if you look at the aerial, I think it depicts it effectively in tandem with the site plan. Essentially where the macadam ends, there would be a privacy fence for the gravel stone to the rear. And then Britton is hoping to store some of their equipment in trailers in the rear. So unlike the other site on my lane in the township, this would not be a situation where you would see any exterior mulch piles or any of their product. This would essentially be non-visible, both from Bridge Street, would be visible from Route 1. But because technically that is a separate use, it required an additional variance and a re-advertisement or amendment of our application. The interior of the warehousing space would be utilized for storage of basically non-gas driven equipment for Britton. So again, non-flammable, no natural material. This is going to be non-toxic, just standard warehouse storage at this site. This is it's been necessitated because fortunately Britton has been very successful in the township at their other location. It is not feasible, unfortunately, to continue to store and warehouse the product that they're seeking to store on site. So this, again, opportunity presented itself, and we're hoping that the solution keeps the Elks functional on site while making it for a productive use with the existing building as it's currently oriented, with the only exception being a party wall. There would be no employees because of this use. As Dan will affirm, there's only 1 or 2 trips that's being estimated per week to the site regarding the warehouse storage. There is no additional parking demand. None of the exterior storage would modify any of the existing parking that you can see on the aerial. So there is no exterior site work whatsoever that's proposed with this application. The only thing that we're proposing is essentially to throw up a party wall, to install a privacy fence, and then keep the existing status quo. Because of that, we need 4 variances. We need permission from the board to permit the use, as been outlined this evening. We need permission to allow the 50 parking spaces to remain instead of the required 57. That is 54. That is not, there's no additional parking demand whatsoever that would come about because of this use. And then we have a variance to not require the parking areas to be paved with dust-free all-weather surface because, again, we're hoping to move forward without any modifications to the site other than those that have been detailed this evening. That is the sum and substance of the application. What I would suggest is to have Mr. Carr testify and then to have a brief overview, Mr. Dumack, of the site and its existing conditions compared to what we're proposing this evening. All right. Good evening, Dan. Can you please state your role with Britton Industries?
Yeah, I am Vice President General Manager of Britton Industries.
Okay. And Britton is the equitable owner of this property, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. How did that come about?
We were approached by the Elks. They have fallen some hard times as far as membership and being able to keep the facility running. Also, they have a banquet facility that they used to and are trying to finish up with the catering operations. It's an aging membership, and it's just, they really can't function like that anymore. We were looking for some warehouse space, so it just seemed like a good match, and we were able to come to an agreement which will really benefit both parties.
And essentially, that agreement is to create a separate leasehold space with a party wall that would allow the Elks to maintain operation of the front, is it 60? 6,400 square feet approximately.
Yeah, basically the clubhouse space that utilized for the membership would remain, and what was a banquet hall, which is like a warehouse space, would become our space for warehousing.
Okay, and there's been an arrangement essentially with the Elks for that to be a sort of a lease back in perpetuity?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then I made the representation to the board that Britton's hope is to be able to utilize the rear 5,400 square feet of space for warehouse storage. Is that an accurate summary?
That is correct.
All right. No natural material?
No, parts, we have a lot of equipment, so just spare parts and things that we need indoor space for. And once again, there's nobody working there, it's just taking what we have currently, no place to put, and putting it in there.
No hazardous material, gasoline, et cetera?
No, nothing like that.
All right. And this is currently occurring on your My Lane property, is that true?
Right now, some of this stuff is being stored in trailers because we just don't have enough indoor space to put it, so this would really benefit us.
All right. Are there any employees or any additional parking demand that would be facilitated because of this?
Nobody's gonna be working on the property.
Okay. I made a representation to the board that the estimate would be approximately 1 to 2 days a week. Someone would come on site. Can you detail that briefly?
If that, I mean, if we need to grab a part, then somebody will come in and get it, but that's not on a regular basis, so no. There's not gonna be somebody there every day. And when they do come, it's to go into the building, get what they need, and leave.
All right. We're proposing basically a privacy fence in the area that's depicted on Heath's plan. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that will separate the paved parking the Elks will utilize from the back gravel area that we would utilize.
All right. So the trailer and equipment parking to the rear is essentially going to be fenced off from Bridge Street. It's already fenced off from the adjacent property and then would be shielded from Route 1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Will you affirm tonight that there will be no parking on any pervious area as part of this property, meaning none of the grass area?
Correct, just the existing gravel area that's already there.
Okay. And the trailer or equipment storage in this area of the property will not take away from any of the existing parking for vehicles on site, is that correct?
That's correct.
Other than that, the hope is to not have any exterior site work. You're not planning any development. You are intending to make use of the existing structure other than the party wall as is, correct?
Yeah, basically no changes to the property at all except for a fence.
All right. And then looking at the aerial and being familiar with the general area, is there anything that you can imagine with this use that would have a negative impact on either the homes across the street or any of the businesses in the immediate vicinity?
I don't even think they'd know we're there. I mean, there'll be no changes at all.
Okay. I have nothing further at this time for Mr. Carr. I would offer to the board having Mr. Dumack do a brief overview of the plan and his observations of the site and to confirm some things from an engineering standpoint, if that's acceptable.
That'd be perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Dumack.
Good evening,
Okay.
Mr. McGinnis.
I am happy if the board wants for me to go through any of Heath's qualifications. I believe he's testified.
This
on-
board has recognized Mr.
All right.
Dumack as an expert.
All right, great, thank you. All right, Heath, can you just give a brief overview of the site and its existing condition to the board, please?
Certainly. The site is approximately 5.3 acres. It's a double frontage lot fronting on both Bridge Street to the north as well as Route 1 to the south. It consists of one building, which is part clubhouse, part catering facility. There are 50 parking spaces to the east of the building, and then there's a larger gravel stone millings area to the south that's typically used as overflow parking when the Elks had catering events in their hall. The site itself varies. We have low vegetative growth as well as heavy woods.
Okay. And if I superimposed the aerial that I've distributed to the board over your notation on your plan that says proposed storage area. That would affirm essentially that the stone gravel area on the aerial is the area that we're proposing to utilize for storage, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right. And did you physically visit the site with Dan?
Yes, on numerous occasions.
Okay. Can you just cover to the board, obviously the aerial depicts some of it, but your own observations to the rear of that
Sure.
site?
The rear, what we're calling the outside storage area, is a gravel millings, rough stone, parking, I'll call it overflow parking area. Since it's not frequently used, there has been vegetation that has grown up and through it. I'm going to say it's probably somewhere between ankle and knee high. More specifically towards the rear of that area than the frontage.
Okay. And the reason for the variances this evening relating to parking relief and the dust-free surface pertains to the fact that we're not proposing any site improvements other than the installation of the fence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you're familiar with the surrounding properties?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an opinion as to whether this use would be consistent with the surrounding uses?
I think it would. You have what was the, for the board's history, what was South End Auto directly to the east. Britton Industries purchased that and has cleaned it up substantially. To the south of that is the, it's a water tank storage area. And then basically you have my lane and the other side of Route 1.
Okay. I have nothing further, Mr. Dumack, although I did have another thought that I would just like to put into the record. If it pleases the board, I'd like to have Mr. Carr affirm that this is going to be a use for Britton Industries, meaning if this is approved, there's not going to turn around and be leased to a separate third-party company where they would be parking trailers and trucks and other things, that this is attached to the Britton Industry use.
That's correct.
Okay, I thought that was important to state as well.
Great, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. I'm going to open it up for some board questions.
Yes.
Great. Aaron?
No questions now.
Great. Laney?
None for me.
Douglas?
None for me, Dan.
Bill?
I have none.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. It's a very good presentation. I think you guys did a great job just explaining what was going on. Any board, or I'm sorry, public comments, questions? All right, so we'll have to have you sworn in, and then state your full name for the record and spell it.
My name is Edward Okarowski, Okurowski.
All right, so, yep, this time is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As I stated, my name is Edward Okarowski. I am the exalted ruler of the Fairless Hills Elks Lodge, located at 835 West Bridge Street in Fairless Hills. I just wanted to take a few moments to tell you that between myself and the membership, we're very pleased about this sale of our property. I believe the best part is the fact that it allows us to stay exactly where we are. We have roughly 360 members that do a lot of charitable work for our community. We're a benevolent and protective order with a lot of volunteers. They volunteer for the betterment of many, such as our police, our firefighters, our veterans, and also children with disabilities. Not to mention, we also give out grants to graduating seniors from the local high schools that are going on to higher education. We became aware a while ago that we were in pretty desperate financial difficulty, having to take care of such a large building that needed attention. We bought the building back in 1967. Membership at that time was about 1,000 people, basically because of the Fairless Hills Works. Now that that's gone, we've had declining enrollment. Also with COVID in the last few years, we've had a tough time making any money to sustain it. We realized that something had to be done. if we were going to continue doing what we do. It became obvious that selling the property was probably the best thing. Having Britton Industries, who is already a neighbor of ours, come in and buy this property is probably the best answer. They can benefit from a large building and allow us to stay and continue our works for a long time. So on behalf of myself and the membership, we'd like to have you vote favorably on this petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Fred Warren. I'm a trustee of Fairless Oaks Lodge 2023. W-A-R-R-E-N. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I really don't have anything to add. It was pretty much presented by our exalted ruler. I've been around longer than probably anybody in this room, and I can remember when the Fairless Hills Works was booming traffic, and there was a lot of members. As was previously said, we had over 1,000 members. There were a lot of volunteers. We did a lot of benevolent work, and that's why we got the property we have right now. We simply, in layman's terms, outgrown the property. We cannot afford to maintain the property. We do not have the membership, the participation like it used to be. It's just not there. So again, I just want to say it's a good deal for us. We are in financial difficulty, and from a trustee's perspective and from an accounting perspective, we need to do something. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Any more public comment? Any public comment via Zoom? Not any letters of correspondence into the township?
Nothing from the township.
Nothing from the township, great. Any further board comments, questions? Before I give Mr. McGinnis opportunity. Mr. McGinnis, anything in closing?
Nothing further. We appreciate your consideration.
Excellent, thank you so much. Okay, at this point, I would like to see if someone would like to make a motion for the petition for Britton Industries.
I can go ahead and make that motion.
Thank you, Ed.
I move that the application of Britton Realty of Morrisville LLC requesting dimensional and use variances from the following sections of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to construct a warehouse addition. 1, to permit a warehouse use and outside storage unit in the highway commercial district pursuant to section 209-23.b. 2, to not require parking areas to be paved with a dust-free all-weather surface pursuant to section 209-42.h, subsection 22, subsection A. And 3, to permit 50 parking spaces instead of the required 57 spaces pursuant to sections 209-42.h, subsection 7, and 209-42.h, subsection 22, subsection B, subsection 1, at the property located at 835 West Bridge Street, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Doug, poll the board, please.
Laney,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yep.
Bill,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Dan.
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Very
McGinnis.
much this
Yep.
evening. Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Yep, happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Holiday.
Thank you for your testimony, gentlemen. Okay, petition number 4, McDonald's USA LLC, 321 West Trenton Avenue, requesting a dimensional variance to permit 32 off-street parking spaces instead of the minimum 90 off-street parking spaces required by the ordinance. I'm sorry, the attorney?
Yes,
Okay, great. So I guess you're from Obermeyer?
yes.
Okay. I guess there was a question of service.
Yes, I have the return receipts.
Okay, if you could hand that to our solicitor before we get. Thank you. Awesome. All right.
The address list is in the submission as well.
Great. Okay.
Okay, great.
Do you have any pre-marked exhibits?
I don't know if would the board enter the application itself?
Yeah, they'll be the board exhibits. Well,
No pre-marked.
okay, before we get moving with that, let's, you have a witness that gets sworn in?
Yes, I would actually, if the board would like, I could do the testimony as an offer of proof.
Yeah,
I'm still-
if he'll be swearing in
Yes,
anything, you
there's
just have
actually-
him sworn in real quick,
Yes.
and then we'll get everything marked for the exhibits for the petition.
There
And
are
then
two
you can offer your
witnesses.
summary, it'd be great.
Okay, we could swear both witnesses in.
Okay,
then.
great. Yeah, they can both stand at the same time. They'll just have to state and spell their name for the record after they're sworn in.
Sure. So my name is Adam Citrullo with Bowler Engineering. That is Citrullo.
Mike Abinizio, Abbonizio.
I do.
Mr. Chairman, we can mark some exhibits for this petition. We'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as CHB 1, along with the accompanying addendum submitted by the applicant. 2 will be a letter from the law firm of Obermeyer. That letter is dated November 7th, 2022, and it's addressed to Falls Township Zoning Hearing Board, care of Matt Takita. 3 will be 3 pages containing 3 colored photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 4 is a letter from Falls Township to applicant's attorney, Kelly McGowan of Obermeyer. That letter is dated December 1st, giving notice of tonight's meeting. 5 will be plans for the subject property. 6 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times showing this matter was published November 29th and again December 6th, 2022. That is all the board exhibits, Mr. Chairman. I've been handed by Mr. Zaffuto.
Yes.
Did I pronounce it right? The certified mail receipts. On the back is a letter. Mr. Zaffuto, do you know, did this letter go to all the addresses that are contained? And I'm going to show you what I'm going to mark as A2. There's a list of properties. Did that copy of that letter go to all these addresses?
Yes.
Okay. That letter, the letter that's been handed to me that marked as A1, that's signed by Kelly McGowan. You work with Ms. McGowan, I assume?
Yes.
All right. Do you have a copy of the letter that was sent to these addresses?
Check the file. Looks like I have the sample letter notice.
Okay.
I don't know that I have, that's what we used, but I don't know that I have an actual letter that was,
Does it have the time, date, and location of tonight's meeting? The sample letter?
no, but that information was filled in the letters that were sent out.
Generally, if it's emailed to me, I print it out and put it in the folder. but I can check my email if you want me to. It'll take me a minute. Not at all.
If it would be possible to provide, you know, an actual copy that was sent out
Yeah,
later, I don't,
no, in order to perfect service,
Yeah, no, I understand.
we're gonna require that, you know, time, date, and location was sent. Even though the affidavit by Ms. McGowan states that, typically we have a copy of the letter that was sent, showing and establishing time, date, and location of the meeting. So we can do one of two things. We can continue it on the record, or we can give you a couple minutes if you wanna step back, contact Ms. McGowan, maybe she can forward you a copy of the letter that was sent. She can she can send it to my email or to the township.
okay, yeah, I'll take a minute, I'll see if
Okay,
we can resolve that.
all right, great. We'll put this on hold then.
Thank you.
So you're in here for the McDonald's, right? Great. Are you in a budding property?
Yes.
Did you receive a letter with time, date, location?
I found out from my neighbor's house.
What's your name?
Matthew Mathias, 691 Willow Drive.
See if he's on the service right here. Well, on the green one, the beginning.
The only reason I talked to my neighbor and I found out, he told me at the meeting after I saw the stakes being put behind my property.
Gotcha.
What's your address?
691 Willow. It's like 2 houses behind McDonald's.
Matthew Mathias, 691 Deloro Drive, Morrisville, PA. You would have received it certified mail.
I did not get anything. My neighbor did, which is Esmond, which is at 690.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just seeing if you had a copy of the letter that had date, time, and location on it.
I found the meeting up, he told me, and then I looked it up online.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll move on to our next scheduled one. We'll get back to that. So we're not going to take it off the record yet, so hang in there. Okay, so petition number 5, ARD Pen, or we'll make a motion to table this, or?
No, we can take it. Yeah.
Petition number 5, ARD Pensbury LP, 223 and 237 Plaza Boulevard, Morrisville, PA. Requesting variances for the redevelopment of a portion of the shopping center, permit a shopping center building separation of 16.3 feet rather than the 20 feet, permit 194 parking spaces rather than 358 parking spaces, to put one wall sign of 116.7 square feet rather than the maximum 32. Thanks. That's a lot of stuff we don't need to hear about.
Would you like the original? I know I emailed you the notice.
I don't need the original.
You don't need it?
No, thanks.
Ms. Von Spreckleson,
Yes,
you have some witnesses you want to have sworn in before we get started?
yes,
Great.
please.
They can all be sworn in, then just state their name and spell it for the record. They can be sworn in mass, yeah.
I'll go first, I guess. Matthew Rutt, R-U-T-T, Land Corps Engineering.
Guido DiMartino, first name is G-U-I-D-O, last name D-I-M-A-R-T-I-N-O.
Jason Abrams, A-B-R-A-M-S.
You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, we can mark some exhibits for this. We'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as EHB 1, along with the accompanying hardship letter. 2 will be 3 pages containing 3 colored photographs, one of which shows that the property was posted as required. 3 is a letter to the applicant's attorney. That letter is dated December 1st, and it was sent from Falls Township, giving notice of tonight's meeting. 4 is a site plan for this application. 5 is proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier Times showing this matter was published November 29th and then again December 6th, 2022. It was previously provided an affidavit of service, which I have reviewed. I believe on page 3 is a copy of the letter that was sent. Having previously reviewed this, I'm satisfied it meets the requirements. It gives the time, date, and location of tonight's meeting. sent by applicant's attorney. And just to confirm, all the properties that are listed and we have, that you have included, received a copy of the notice?
That's correct.
Okay. And I see that you have pre-marked exhibits. Looks like you stopped at 10.
That's correct.
All right, so if you don't mind, if we can mark, we'll just leave yours marked 1 through 10. We'll add an A in front of for applicant. And what I'll do is I'll make the affidavit of service A11. The packet that was previously sent to me via email.
Okay.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bidlingmeyer. Ms. Von Sprinkleson, all yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening.
Did I
Julie
get that
Bell.
right? I'm sorry.
Perfect.
Oh, I think I messed it up before, that's fine.
For the Wawa, right?
Probably.
Yes. Good evening, Julie Von Sprinkleson from the law firm of Eastburn & Gray, here tonight on behalf of the applicant ARD Pensbury LP, which is the legal owner of the 4 contiguous parcels of land that comprise the Pensbury Plaza Shopping Center located along West Trenton Avenue, Plaza Boulevard, and Route 13, or Pine Grove Road. Of the 4 parcels, 2 are located in Falls Township, and the other 2 are located in Morrisville Borough. And they have cross-access easements between the 2 parcels for both access and parking, so it's all interconnected. The vast majority of the existing improvements and of the proposed improvements are located in Falls Township and require the zoning relief that we're seeking this evening. With regard to the improvements that are proposed for the Morrisville Borough site, there's no variances that are required in Morrisville Borough, but as we move forward into land development, we will need land development from both municipalities. So just real briefly, with regard to the Falls Township parcels that are subject to this application, they comprise just about 5 acres, and they are located in the SC Shopping Center District. The parcels are improved with 56,027 square feet of gross shopping center floor area, which includes a retail fitness center building, a standalone Wendy's restaurant, and a portion of a 2-story retail center with a number of tenancies that spans the Falls Township and Morrisville Borough parcels. Additional improvements to the parcels include lighting, landscaping, and parking. This property, because it was developed and approved decades ago, has numerous existing legal nonconformities that they include lot area, impervious coverage, number of parking spaces, and then also the side and rear yard setbacks. So what's being proposed is redevelopment of a portion of the site. And on the Falls Township parcels, what is being proposed is the demolition of 6,082 square feet of the first floor of the 2-story retail center, the conversion of 1,140 square feet of the commercial space on the second floor to attic storage area, and the construction of 9,128 square feet of a 1-story retail building in the area that's to be demolished. And that's to be occupied by Dollar Tree. The total building square footage proposed is 10,500 square feet, but the remainder is in Morrisville Borough. So the partial redevelopment will require, on the Falls Township parcels, a reduction in the existing number of parking spaces by 17 and a building separation distance of 16.3 feet. The redevelopment is necessary to assist in the revitalization of this shopping center that has had and continues to have a number of vacancies, mostly due to e-commerce and online shopping and such. Even COVID played a part in it. So they're trying to revitalize this strip center portion of the property by adding the Dollar Tree, and hopefully that will also encourage new tenancies within that strip center and hopefully prevent another bankruptcy, shopping center bankruptcy. So again, the dimensional relief that we're seeking, it's all in part driven by the site constraints of the property because it was developed decades ago and also because of the legal nonconformities on the site. So the 3 variances dimensional that are being requested are to permit a shopping center building separation of 16.3 feet rather than the minimum required 20 feet, to permit 194 parking spaces rather than the required 358 parking spaces. However, it's important to note that there's 211 existing parking spaces on the site, so it's an existing nonconformity. So we're only reducing the number of parking spaces on the Falls Township side by 17 parking spaces. And then to permit a wall sign of 116.73 square feet rather than the maximum permitted 32 square feet. Just to quickly run through the exhibit booklet tabs that I handed out, A1 is the zoning application with the hardship letter and deed. A2 is the recorded declaration of easements, that's the cross-access and parking easement dated June 24th, 1977. A3 is the CV of Matt Rutt, who is a professional engineer with Land Corps Engineering Consultants. A4 is an aerial photograph of existing property conditions. A5 are photographs of the existing shopping center. A6 is a zoning site plan prepared by Land Corps Engineering dated November 11th, 2022. A7 are building elevations prepared by JKRP Architects dated November 17th, 2022 and consisting of 4 sheets. A8 is the CV of Guy DiMartino. He's a professional engineer with traffic planning and design. A9 is a parking analysis prepared by Traffic Planning and Design dated November 30th, 2022. And A10 is a sign analysis prepared by Traffic Planning and Design dated December 12th, 2022. I am prepared to provide an offer of proof if you would prefer an offer of proof over the testimony of the 2 witnesses, the 2 experts.
I think it'd be fine at this point, and if it becomes proven that their testimony needs to be heard directly, we'll do that, okay?
Okay, perfect, thank you. The first witness to testify would be Matthew Rutt. He is a professional engineer, and he would testify as follows. He would state that he is a licensed professional engineer in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. He is founder and president of Land Corps Engineering Consultants, PC, and has 25 years of experience in land development field and has successfully designed and permitted residential, institutional, power generation, and commercial projects of nearly every scale throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. He would testify he has provided professional testimony before countless planning commissions, boards of supervisors, commissioners, zoning hearing boards throughout the region, and a true copy of his CV is at tab 3 of the exhibit booklet. He would further testify he was engaged by the applicant to prepare a zoning analysis and fully engineered site plan for the partial redevelopment of the Pennsbury Plaza Shopping Center and has been to the site and viewed the surrounding area. Using the aerial photograph of the property and the photographs of the existing shopping center buildings at tabs 4, at A4 and A5 of the exhibit booklet, Matt would testify that the shopping center comprises 4 parcels, 2 parcels being located in Morrisville Borough and 2 parcels being located in Falls Township. The shopping center has 3 frontages, Plaza Boulevard, West Trenton Avenue, and Route 13. The Falls Township parcels comprise just about 5 acres and are located in the SC Shopping Center District. He would testify that the unique physical conditions of the property include its highly irregular shape, irregular municipal boundary line spanning of 2 municipalities, 3 road frontages, and that the shopping center was approved and developed decades ago and has many existing nonconformities, including number of parking spaces, impervious coverage, lot area, and side and rear yard setbacks. He would testify that the Falls Township parcels are improved with a total of 56,027 square feet of gross shopping center floor area, which includes a retail fitness center building, a standalone Wendy's restaurant, and a portion of a 2-story retail center with a number of tenancies that spans the Falls Township and Morrisville Borough parcels. Additional improvements to the Falls Township parcels include 211 parking spaces, which is an existing nonconformity, and there's lighting and landscaping. He would testify that the access to the property is via West Trenton Avenue and Plaza Boulevard, and that the majority of the neighboring uses are commercial with multifamily residential to the rear of the property. Using the zoning site plan at tab 6 of the booklet, Matt at A6 of the exhibit booklet, Matt would testify that the partial redevelopment includes demolition of a portion of the first floor of the two-story retail center totaling 6,082 square feet, conversion of 1,140 square feet of the second floor of the second-story retail center from commercial space to attic storage, and construction of a one-story. Total square footage is 10,500 for the Dollar Tree, with 9,128 square feet being located in Falls Township. Matt would testify that the Dollar Tree store complies with all of the bulk and dimensional criteria of the zoning ordinance except for distance between buildings for a very small area where the building separation is 16.3 feet rather than the required 20 feet for which a variance is requested. Matt would testify that the 16.3 building separation includes only the very small area, and the vast majority of the building separation is over 20 feet and by as much as 67 feet toward the rear of the buildings. Matt would testify that the variance is necessary because it's not feasible to expand the existing building in any other location without additional zoning relief being required, and there are no safety issues with a 16.3 building separation in this very small location area. Matt would testify that 34 parking spaces are proposed to be removed from the Falls Township's parcels, but that 17 parking spaces will be added back for a total net decrease in parking of 17 spaces on the Falls Township parcels, for which a variance is requested. Matt would testify that there will be 194 parking spaces on the Falls Township parcels and 169 parking spaces on the Morrisville Borough parcels, for a total of 363 parking spaces for the site, which is more than sufficient for the shopping center use. He would testify that the ratio of parking stalls per leasable building area for the overall shopping center actually increases 5.16 to 5.26 per 1,000 square feet as a result of this application, and that industry standards for suburban shopping centers typically fall in the 4 to 5 per 1,000 square foot range, which this center will continue to exceed. Matt would testify there will be a slight reduction in impervious coverage and an increase in landscaping on the site. Using the building and sign elevations at tab 7 of the exhibit booklet, Matt would testify that one wall sign of 116.73 square feet is proposed rather than the permitted maximum 32 square feet because the proposed size of the sign is necessary to safely direct the traveling public into and through the site. It is necessary for visibility and business identification due to the significant distance, over 550 feet, from the building to West Trenton Avenue and to the driveway entrance into the site. Matt would testify that the two-story retail center is obscured from view of motorists by other buildings, including the car wash and the Wendy's. Thus, a larger sign is necessary, and he would testify that the neighboring commercial uses have similar size signs, and the proposed sign is proportionate to the size and scale of the building and signage of other building tenants. He would testify the unique physical conditions of the property cause an unnecessary hardship, and the requested dimensional variances are needed for the partial redevelopment of the property. That the dimensional variances, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood nor permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent parcels, and that the dimensional variances, if granted, will not pose any threat to the public health, safety, and welfare. And that would be Matt's testimony.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Right now, we'll open it up to some board comments, okay? And then your appropriate witness can answer in turn, okay?
Okay.
Sound good?
That sounds fine.
Excellent. Laney?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Bill?
I have a question on the parking spaces. So there's 211 non-conforming at this time. You're gonna remove 34 and replace it with 17, correct?
That's correct.
How many handicap spots will we be losing in this conversion?
I will turn that question over to the engineer, Matt Rutt.
Matt, you'll need to be on mic. You can take that one out of the cradle if you'd like. That way you can point and.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just give me one moment to refer to the exhibits. I know we're creating new ADA stalls. I'm just looking at what will be removed. It appears that we are removing 4 existing ADA stalls. and replacing them with 4 new ADA stalls. And from being out there and seeing existing conditions, I would also note that the 4 existing ones that are being replaced are probably borderline, if not compliant with ADA requirements, so this would be an upgrade to the ADA facilities of the center.
So we'll be losing 0, right?
Excuse me?
We won't be losing any handicap spots in this.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Oh, thanks, Bill. Doug?
I have none, Dan.
Aaron?
My only question is just about the current occupants. I mean, presumably they're under some kind of lease contract that, but, and is there any aspect of what their relief is for this?
For their current, do you want to come up and testify? Come up and testify. This is Jason Abrams. He's here on behalf of the applicant.
Hi, thank you. As Julie had referenced, we have some vacancy, a lot of vacancy at that side of the shopping center, especially as you get towards the end cap where the former Big O Pharmacy was. We have the ability to relocate any tenant to that side of the center who wants to relocate at our cost. Okay?
Anything else? No, okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions. At this point, we'll open it up for some public comments, questions? Let the record reflect there was no public comments or questions. Matt, anything through the township?
Nothing from the township.
Nobody on Zoom for this one? For the shopping center? No? Okay. Great. Julie, anything further?
I did have another witness, Guy DiMartino. He is a traffic engineer, and he prepared the parking analysis and also a signage analysis, and those exhibits are in your booklet. If you need him to run through it, we can, or...
I know you touched on it briefly in your summary there about the signage and the miles per hour and everything else too. So I think you're saying it's in keeping with the other signage and in relation to the size of the building and things like that. I know that recently we've kind of scaled those down to 32 square feet, where that would probably be dangerous for someone trying to read that sign, possibly.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that was pretty clear, so.
Okay.
Any other further questions from the board on this petition? No? Okay. Anything in closing?
That's all I'd have. Just move my exhibits into evidence.
Great, thank you. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion for the petition of ARD Pensbury?
I can make that motion.
Thanks, Bill.
I move that the application ARD Pensbury LP requesting following variance from the following section of, well, I'm sorry, let me start over. I make a motion to approve that the application ARD LP requesting the following variances from sections of the Falls Township ordinance be granted to allow for the redevelopment of portion of the shopping center. 1, to permit shopping center building separation of 16.3 rather than the minimum required 20 pursuant to section 209-24F table 4. 2, to permit 194 parking spaces rather than the required 358 parking spaces pursuant to section 209-42H12, and 3, to permit one wall sign all right, yeah. 3, to permit one wall sign of 116.73 square foot rather than the maximum permitted 32 square foot pursuant to section 209-45Q 5B at the property located at 223 and 237 Plaza Boulevard, Morrisville, PA 19067, as depicted on the plans in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Doug, poll the board, please.
Laney,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Mr. Dan.
Yes, but I just want to make a clarification that it is 16.3 feet rather than the minimum required 20 feet. I believe Bill said 16.3 and 20. We just want to go on the record to make sure that is in feet, not inches, or meters, or whatever
Understood.
different measurement you
Thank you.
try to use in other parts of the world. Great, thank you. So I'm a yes, so petition's been approved. You'll receive notification from our solicitor's office.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time this
Yep,
morning.
thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mrs. Zafudo? Were you able to obtain a copy of the letter?
We did,
We're back on the record for petition number 4, McDonald's USA LLC, 321 West Trent Avenue.
we were able to obtain a copy of the letter.
Okay, great.
And we're able to email it. What is your email? I think we sent it to you.
To me, let me go check.
Okay.
Oh, great.
So we'll confirm that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
the board's cooperation with this.
Yeah, no problem. We'd like to get everything through in the same night if we can. Yes. Yeah, don't worry. Okay, great. Great, thank you for that. Sorry about the, needing to be by the book, but we want to make sure everything's on the up and up here.
Of course.
So, did we mark the rest of the exhibits yet? or-
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, if I could just pick up and just finalize the marking of the exhibits. I think we went through all of them. If I did not, just, I'll do them quickly so the record's complete. ZHB 1 is the application for zoning ordinance appeal, along with the addendum to the application. 2 is a letter from Obermeyer, the law firm representing applicant. That letter's dated November 7th, addressed to Falls Township, care of Matt Takita. 3 are 3 pages containing 3 color photographs, one of which shows the property was posted as required. 4 is a letter giving notice of tonight's meeting to applicant's attorney, Kelly McGowan. That letter is dated December 1st, 2022, sent by the township. 5 are plans for this project, this applicant. 6, proof of publication, the Bucks County Courier Times, showing this matter was published November 29th, and then again December 6th, 2022. I have been handed up now from Mr. Safuto what I previously marked as A1, I think. That is the certified mail receipts. On the back page is an affidavit of service signed by Kelly McGowan, Esquire, stating under oath that the copy of the letter, which I'm going to mark as A3, was sent to all the property addresses listed, what I've marked as A2, and also to the addresses listed in the certified mail receipt correspondence that was handed up. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice has been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Building Meyer. Mr. Zafudo, now back on the record. What's
All
going on?
right. Again, I appreciate your cooperation and patience. I will proceed with an offer of proof. The witnesses have been
That'd be
sworn.
great, thank you.
Okay, so as a outline of the property, this is 321 West Trenton Avenue. It's identified as parcel number 13-035-072. It's actually a leased portion of that parcel. It's 1.166 acres. It's denoted on the plans. The zoning is NC Neighborhood Commercial. And the existing use is a McDonald's restaurant with a single lane drive-through. Again, the applicant is McDonald's Corporation, who is the lessee of this leased property, and the title owner did sign. It's a revocable trust agreement of Chester S. Dolgovitz that signed the application. The property is presently non-conforming in two respects. There's a 45.1 foot front yard setback that will not be changed in this application. And there's a 75.7% impervious coverage, which is non-conforming above the 70% permitted. That will actually be reduced by 393 square feet in this application to 74.89%. So I'll go through, well, the variance being sought today is from section 209-42, period H, period 13, to permit 32 off-street parking spaces instead of the minimum 90 off-street parking spaces, which would be required by application of the ordinance. Okay, so moving through the offer of proof for Adam Citrullo, who has been sworn in. Mr. Citrullo has worked at Bowler Engineering since 2015. He has a BS in civil engineering from Penn State. His PE license for Pennsylvania is number 092835. He has previously testified in Pennsylvania and previously been admitted as an expert. So to the extent that the board would find it advisable to recognize him as an expert for this testimony, I would appreciate that. I don't know if you would want to make that decision now or in the event that, once he swears in.
This board will accept Mr. Citrullo as an expert in the field of engineering.
Yes. Bowler Engineering designed and prepared the plans at issue. There is, I believe, sheet C-301 was included in the application. If not, we can move a copy of that into the record. Just want to confirm.
I don't know what you're...
This right here, C-301. It was part of
It was part of the application, but I wanted to make sure it's all part of the...
It's part of the...
It's part of the application exhibit, okay. So that's what's being shown on the easel as well. Like I said, it was prepared by Bowler Engineering. Mr. Citrullo would testify that he did a zoning code review in the scope of his work for this project and that he is familiar with the property in question. Mr. Citrullo would testify that the plan shows an existing 3,889 square foot McDonald's restaurant on the existing 1.166 acre lease area of the overall lot, which is 4.95 acres. The remaining area of the lot is undeveloped. There are currently 39 total parking spaces on the property. There is a single order point and single lane drive-through along the right side of the building as shown in the plans. There are separate ingress and egress driveways into the property to and from West Trenton Avenue. And with regard to the site improvement plan as part of this application, this plan proposes a double lane drive-through with 2 order points, 2 primary menu boards, and 2 pre-browse menu boards. There's no change to the access of the property, and there will be some reconfiguration of the parking lot, which will result in a removal of, I guess, a net loss of 7 spaces. So there would be 32 parking spaces on the property, and the design of the parking area and the circulation of the lot would be reconfigured, as I said. There would be no new construction or expansion of the building. With the proposed change, so currently with the single lane drive-through, there are 9 vehicles that could stack from the beginning of the drive-through area, and 6 from the first window, the first pickup window. The proposed change, there would be stacking for 14 vehicles from the beginning of the drive-through area and 11 from that first window. Adding the second lane would likely, Mr. Citrullo would testify that adding the second lane would likely decrease the average amount of time that customers spend on the property. He would also testify that the greater capacity to stack vehicles in the queue and shorter average time that a vehicle remains on the property would increase public safety and make it less likely for a queue to back up onto West Trenton Avenue. With regard to the pickup process, there were 2 existing drive-through parking spaces that are kind of in front of and to the right of the drive-through windows. There's also a pull-forward space that could be used in the event that a vehicle has a larger order or some other delay to prevent queuing behind. The parking area to the right on the side of the building where the drive-through is located will be reconfigured, but the ADA accessible handicap parking spaces will remain in the same area near the entrance. There's a third bypass lane to the right of the 2 drive-through lanes that will be 18 feet in width, which would permit a fire truck or emergency vehicle to pass through. Mr. Citrullo would testify that this plan includes the maximum amount of parking that can be located on the property after the addition of this second drive-through lane, without substantially increasing impervious coverage, which is already non-conforming. Like I said, the impervious coverage of the property will be decreased by 393 square feet. Other than the off-street parking variance being requested in the existing non-conforming conditions shown on the plan, the project will comply with all other applicable regulations of the zoning ordinance and other township regulations. Mr. Citrullo would testify that in his professional opinion, the proposed reconfiguration is a good fit for the property and the neighborhood, and that the variance, if authorized, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or the district in which the property is located, nor will it substantially or permanently impair appropriate use or development of adjacent property, nor be detrimental to the public welfare. He would also testify that the variance, if authorized, represents the minimum variance that will afford relief and represents the least modification possible of the regulations at issue. And all of these opinions would be offered as by Mr. Citrullo in his capacity as an expert in the field. Moving to an offer of proof for the testimony of Mike Abinizio, who is an owner-operator of this McDonald's location. He has been the owner-operator of this location for 6 years. He owns and operates 4 other McDonald's locations. Mr. Abinizio would testify that a rough breakdown of the number of customers and sales that were processed through the drive-through as compared to other methods, in dine-in and takeout orders placed inside the store would be roughly 80%. That drive-through volume has increased in recent years, especially during, since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. Mr. Abinizio would testify that as the owner-operator of multiple McDonald's locations, he follows national statistics and that this location is in line with the average in terms of the industry. As it's currently configured, with 1 lane and order point, occasionally vehicles can stack or back up into the drive access, very rarely near the roadway, but into that access beyond the drive-through window. Mr. Abinizio would testify that adding a 2nd lane and order point will make it less likely that this stacking and queuing would happen to the extent that it has, and it would add more capacity for stacking of vehicles. 2 of the other McDonald's locations that Mr. Abinizio owns and operates have dual lane drive-throughs. He would testify that his experience with those locations is consistent with that testimony. And Mr. Abinizio would testify that there are 12 employees working on the busiest shift, that most of the employees actually arrive at work by other means and do not drive and park in the parking lot. He would testify that the property is near public transportation and that is utilized by many of the employees. A parking study was conducted over this weekend from December 9th through December 11th, which would be Friday through Saturday of this past weekend. I can actually enter that. I could present that to the board.
We'll mark this as A4.
Thank you.
The numbers on that parking study indicate the amount of vehicles that were parked in any of the areas of the parking lot on the property at the time. Indicated that a supervisor on the site did personally observe and record the parking data that's shown on that sheet, and the maximum amount of vehicles parked at any one time on the property, according to that chart, is 9. Again, the requirement under the zoning ordinance is for 90 parking spaces. It is far excessive for the needs and for the practical use of the property. Mr. Abinizio would testify that in his experience, the parking numbers shown on that parking study are consistent with the usual business and parking demand over a weekend, and that weekend traffic is typically heavier than weekday traffic. He would also testify that in his experience, the parking lot has never been full or nearly full with parked cars. So that would be their testimony, and now I would make them available to any questions that the board may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Zavuto. Let's have some more questions, and whoever witness can be appropriate to answer will do that, okay? Aaron?
No questions.
Great. Laney?
None for me.
Bill?
Out of the, excuse me, out of the 7 parking spots you're requesting, are any of them separate handicapped?
Sure, I can answer that. So 2 of them they're being relocated and shifted accordingly as shown on the site plan.
How many handicap spots are on the site right now?
2,
And you 2 will remain after you reconfigure this?
that's correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Doug?
I have none, Dan.
Yeah, I have no questions. Any public comments, questions? Yes, sir. Yep, come on up, be sworn in, state and spell your name, and then we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Matthew Mathias, M-A-T-T-H-I-A-S.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you are? Okay.
I just want to see what's going on.
Sure, if you have any questions, if you could just say it on mic for us,
Oh,
that way our
yes.
court reporter can hear it. Thank you.
I just want to see the plans and see exactly on paper what they're doing. This is it right here? Oh, sorry.
That's correct.
And this is the current parking lot?
This is the building, this is the existing.
Okay, so all you're doing is adding this.
That's correct.
This is staying, nothing's going back any further.
That's correct.
That is correct. That was my main concern. Main concern was moving back because I saw the mistakes.
Excellent.
But that looks nice, and I do agree with them as far as parking and staggering it. I've seen that traffic back up on West Trenton Avenue. This looks like a good plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mathias. Glad we were able to clear that up. Any further public comments, questions? Going once? Let the record reflect there is no further public comments or questions. Matt, anything through the township that we should know about? Letters of correspondence?
Nothing from the township.
Anybody loaded into Zoom for us? No one on Zoom? Great. Any further questions from the board? No? Great. Anything in closing, Mr. Zafuto?
Let's see. No, I have no further comments.
You'd like to move your exhibits?
Yes, I would like to move the exhibits into the
Excellent,
record,
that'd be
please.
great. Okay, at this juncture, I'd like to see if any of my board mates would like to make a motion.
I'll go ahead and make that motion. I move that the application McDonald's USA LLC requesting a dimensional variance from section 209-42.H13 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to permit 32 off-street parking spaces instead of the minimum 90 off-street parking spaces required by the ordinance at the property located at 321 West Trenton Avenue, Morrisville, PA 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Dan.
Doug, poll the board, please.
Laney?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Myself, yes, and Dan?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Zafuto.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone else, for your testimony yet. Oh, I don't know. Should I tell you? Oh. Just on the record, ladies and gentlemen, my term is expired at the end of this year for the zoning hearing board. I will not be seeking to be reappointed to this board. It has been my privilege and honor to serve the people of Falls Township and work with some of the finest people on this board and through the township. I do appreciate it, and I hope my service was helpful and useful. And I thank everyone.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Dan.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Nice time.